Jiu-Jitsu and just training martial arts in general allows me to focus in on one thing, have that singleness of mind, and provides me with a brotherhood and family, and I can't even name one.
That community element is everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, can you talk about that a little bit? Like, especially with MMA, I feel like there's this kind of like bond that gets formed with when guys go through hard stuff together. The injury, you know, that's really like everyone's worst nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Especially MMA.
Shot in on the dude probably like 30 or 40 seconds in, and I took him down and my shoulder popped out. It was the first time I'd been injured like that. He was like, this is a time. It's easy to work on yourself physically. Like you're very used to that and you've done it your whole life. Like working out's not that hard for you, you know? But growing mentally and emotionally is a much bigger and more difficult task. And I think that was whenever I really started to try to focus on that a little bit more.
What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm here at Jiu-Jitsu Outlet headquarters with our entire team of employees and Mr. Julius Walker. What is up, man? How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. You drove your way out here from Springfield, did a seminar, and dude, you taught some awesome stuff about just like the fundamentals of MMA, and it was a really good time. So thanks for coming out, man. I had a great time. I learned some good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you.
Taught us how to beat some people up, man.
Yep.
So, dude, for people who don't know, you're the Synergy light heavyweight champion here in the Midwest. Synergy is like one of the biggest MMA promotions. And, dude, I'm really excited to talk about that and talk about like your upcoming fight and stuff like that. But first, I want to ask you the question that I ask everyone on the show, which is, how does training in martial arts help your mental health?
Man, it definitely allows me just a space to kind of get out of the day-to-day almost slop that you can get into. Whenever I start getting down, getting negative about different things, jiu-jitsu and just training martial arts in general allows me to focus in on one thing, have that singleness of mind, and provides me with a brotherhood and family, and I can't even name one.
That community element is everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, can you talk about that a little bit? Like, especially with MMA, I feel like there's this kind of like bond that gets formed with when guys go through hard stuff together. Can you talk a little bit about that? How's that kind of helped your life?
100%. Like from your teammates, you know, you're in the gym together every day, grinding with those guys. They've definitely became my friends and my brothers. Been with me through ups and downs, wins and losses, that sort of thing. And then even the guys that you fight, the guys that you go meet whenever you're out, you know, cross training and stuff like that, they've all became friends and brothers. Like even, I always say the guys that I fought, you know, me and him are the only people that shared that experience of fighting each other in the cage on that one day. And that definitely, provides you with almost a small brother of all those guys that have fought and done that, you know?
Yeah, and those guys that have fought you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I've not thought of that before. It's like you kind of have your experience of fighting them, but they have their experience of fighting you.
Exactly.
And it's like this mirroring thing.
Yeah, it's super crazy, man.
That's really interesting. Well, how do you think it helps other parts of your life, like maybe being a husband or a father or stuff like that?
It almost kind of puts everything in perspective. We get, when we're training, we're so focused on, you know, just doing what we're supposed to be doing, protecting ourselves, you know, protecting my neck, trying to stay on top, trying to wrestle up, just these little things that I'm focused on throughout that period of time. And whenever I'm, you know, transitioning back to everyday life, just at certain times you just have to focus on something and figure out a way to get it done. And I don't know, I think jiu-jitsu and MMA has helped me with that a lot. Whenever I'm training hard, I feel like I'm a better person, holding myself to a little bit of a higher standard. And then I think whenever you do that in one phase of your life, it bleeds over into all the other ones. So
yeah, I've noticed that about my friends who do MMA. They go through the camp. And the camp before the fight is almost like a spiritual experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what have you gained from going through these camps to prepare for your fights?
Man, discipline would probably be the biggest thing. Because you can see the result of your camps that went better and your camps that went worse. Whenever you're focused and you're disciplined throughout camp and you're putting in a good camp, you know, and it shows whenever you step into the cage. On any anybody that gets, like, for me, typically, is when I'm get more nervous, it's the fights where I know deep down I didn't train as hard, like, and it allows me to put into perspective and stop focusing on the results of necessarily what I'm doing and focus more on the process. Not being so stuck up on winning and losing. Just thinking, like, at the end of the day, I got better this camp. I know for a fact that I'm better at these different areas in the last 8 weeks. And at the end of the day, if I keep doing this over time, I'm going to continue to get better. And that's the goal, you know, in the long term.
Yeah, and the camps, they kind of stack on each other too, because you do one and then you have a fight or a tournament or something, and then you do the next one, and they stack and they start to build. And then by the time that you've done, like, you've had 14 fights, right? So you've been like, can you talk about that a little bit? What was that like as you kind of evolved? I guess put differently, like, how are you today compared to the person who you were after your first or second fight?
Man, it's crazy. Like, I've definitely grown up a lot in the sport. Like, I think about my first fight, I was 20. It was
And how old are you now?
I just turned 25.
Wow.
So
So you've only been doing this 5 years.
yeah,
That's crazy,
exactly.
man. You're a beast.
And I appreciate you. Dude, it's so crazy. Like, when I started off, you know, just at times thinking I knew everything, you know, whenever I first started having a little bit of success, and then being humbled and learning that, like, you know, in this long journey, like, even now, I'm still at the beginning, you know.
Right.
Still have so much to learn. There's so many different areas where I can improve, and just focusing on that in general has definitely helped me grow in life.
Yeah. It gives you like a focus that, you, like you said, it goes to other parts of your life too. It's like you train how to focus and stuff like that. And I think that martial arts is specifically like you're repeating these behaviors of overcoming adversity and getting out from a bad position.
Exactly.
And you literally like drill the worst case scenario again and again and again. And you build this repetitive motion around overcoming the worst case scenario. And that applies to everything. Changes how you look at life.
100%. Like, man, it's crazy for me. It's definitely a blessing that I get to do this stuff. I love it. It's really cool. And it's definitely shown me that, you know, if I focus on just striving to be better every day, it can definitely bleed over into everything else.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's the way. And it helps you see it and everything else. Let me ask you this, like, how do you feel as you've kind of stepped into being a pro MMA fighter versus amateur? How did your view of yourself change in that time?
Man, I think sometimes whenever I turned professional, I almost got a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, I was like, man, should I even be a professional fighter? You know, is this silly for me to even be doing? Like, should I just try to go back and focus and have a normal job? And I've definitely gone through ups and downs where, you know, during my amateur career, at the beginning of it, I was very gung-ho and I trained super hard for a long time. And I was able to, like you were saying, stack those camps one after another.
Right.
And I built up, you know, a level of discipline, and at times that's came and that's gone. But once I started to overcome that imposter syndrome and start to be like, man, like, I am a professional fighter. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to go all in on this. It's completely changed for me. And that's kind of my focus right now, is just maintaining that discipline so I can continue to build on the little bit of success that I have had so far.
So a lot of people, me included, it's like we get into these situations in life and it forces us to become the professional, I think. Was that you? Like, did you kind of, I guess, did you kind of get your first pro fight kind of as like a big break, and then all of a sudden you had to start acting this way? Or were you already acting that way and then it kind of came your way? Like, which came first, I guess?
Yeah, I would say that I was, when I started my amateur career, I started off well. Like, I won my first 3 fights, and I had, like, my third fight was a title fight, so I was just on top of the world. I thought I was so awesome, you know. And then I tried to fight again real quick, and I lost, so it kind of knocked me back a bit. And then I won one, and I was 4-1, and I was thinking, all right, if I can win another fight, I'll probably turn pro. And because I was really trying to fight. I was trying to fight the best guys at that point. And then I lost a couple of fights to some really good guys, and it kind of put things back in perspective for me a little bit. And then moving forward, my last amateur fight, I ended up with 10 total. My last amateur fight, I dislocated my shoulder and I had to have surgery and everything after it. So just going through all of that and kind of having been through what I'd been through, and I had, I fought some real good guys as an amateur, and I was like, man, I think I'm ready to go pro now. I'm ready to get paid for this, especially if it kind of the whole shoulder thing kind of put into perspective the risks that I'm taking. So yeah. I'd say that was when I was like, all right, it's time to go pro.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. And Steven Pressfield talks about this. He's one of my favorite authors, and he's got a book called Turning Pro. And he talks about how it's like this decision you make where you say, it's like, it's up to you. Like, no one ever says to you, hey, you're a pro now, even though technically like there's a pro and amateur division, but it's like, it's about stepping into this mindset where you just like have a moment where you just kind of get it and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I need to actually be serious with this stuff. Like for me, it really happened when I started to have a family. Yeah. And I realized like, oh, wow, like I can't just goof around anymore. Yeah. I've got people who count on me. And I think it's that way for a lot of guys, for sure. Do any of our other podcast hosts have a question? But no, but dude, I feel like MMA, it really like puts you through this fire, so to speak, a little bit more than jiu-jitsu. The injury, you know, that's really like everyone's worst nightmare, right? Yeah. Especially MMA. That's why the majority of people don't do MMAs, because they don't want to get a bad injury. So you went through that. You went on to become the champion. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? What was it like kind of overcoming that injury? And, you know, how does that factor into your training now?
Yeah. So in the fight, it happened. I like shot in on the dude probably like 30 or 40 seconds in, and I took him down and my shoulder popped out. And we ended up going the distance. Like during the fight, it's just pure adrenaline. So it wasn't even like I don't even think of it as like some moment of crazy toughness, because in the fight, I was just operating on adrenaline. I wasn't even really like feeling the pain of the shoulder and everything. But after the fight, I definitely felt the pain of it. And then going through the surgery and everything, it was kind of I played basketball as a kid, so I've kind of always been in some sort of athletics, and it was the first time I'd been injured like that. And it definitely hit me pretty hard. But it was just, my mother-in-law said to me, she was like, this is a time, it's easy to work on yourself physically. Like you're very used to that and you've done it your whole life. Like working out's not that hard for you, you know, but growing mentally and emotionally is a much bigger and more difficult task. And I think that was whenever I really started to try to focus on that a little bit more. Try to look at things from a different perspective. Like whenever I am stepping into the cage, knowing like it is a little bit more of a serious thing and there's more dangers than I had even necessarily been thinking about through my amateur career. And it definitely, like I had the surgery, was out, came back and went straight pro after that actually. Because from the surgery to my pro debut was about 7 months.
Oh, and wow.
Yeah, and I was cleared in about like 4.5 months. So from getting cleared from the surgery to my pro debut I think it was like 2 months and a couple weeks. And it was like, my shoulder felt really solid. It's not as flexible anymore, but it's solid. It's definitely very solid.
That's awesome.
There's certain places I know, like I probably shouldn't put it there.
Right. Right. So when was the injury?
It was July 2022.
Oh, so not that long ago. Yeah, so hopefully you'll get some of that flexibility back.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
It's still relatively recent. You know, dude, that's awesome. You know, a lot of people, they get a bad injury, they need surgery, and then like that's it. They don't go back to it. So props to you, man, for going back in there. And it's amazing that it would happen like just before your pro career started. It's almost like the universe or God or whoever throwing you a little test, like, you really want this? Like, let's see if you really, really are going to do this. Like, man, it's crazy. I think those things happen sometimes. Yeah. When you're getting ready for something big.
Yeah, 100%. And like through that, and then the support system that I had, like that was really a big part of, and that's honestly for me, I think for anybody that trains, that's a big part of it. Obviously at some point we do have to go out and do things on our own, but it's like the support system that I've had through all of this, like, my wife, my family, you know, my mom, like it's all been that's a big part of the reason why I've been able to even do anything like this. So,
yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said earlier, like the community is everything.
100%.
Good team, good family. Like that's huge.
Yep.
If you don't have that, it's super, super hard.
Exactly.
Super hard. Well, dude, I know that you got to get on your way back to Springfield, but just had one more question. I know you're trying to fight again here soon.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what's your mindset going into this next fight? And do you have an opponent in mind or someone that you're trying to face off with?
Oh man, there's so many people that I've been trying to fight, but it's you know, with the whole professional MMA thing, people nowadays are super particular on who they want to fight. So I won't even call anybody out because everybody that I've tried to fight knows that I tried to fight them, you know, and I get it. It's tough. You've got to find two guys that are probably a little enigmatic to match up and fight on the same date. I want to fight in November in Springfield.
Right.
So that's the goal. We're still looking for different opponents. We've reached out to some people and it's just, I'm sure it'll get figured out. I'm looking to defend the title, but
heck yeah, man.
Hopefully that's what happens. If I have to fight a heavyweight, then I guess that's what I'll do.
That's awesome, dude. Well, it's not going to be me, dude, because I don't do that get punched in the face stuff, you know.
Sometimes I wonder why I do.
So the first one I'm going to do, this one is kind of this one is something that I'm only going to do in MMA. I would never, what I'm about to do, I probably wouldn't do in Jiu-Jitsu, because if I was in Jiu-Jitsu, the person would say, well, I'm winning, and they would just sit there. They're on top of me, okay? In MMA, they're the person on top of you, they want to hurt you. So they have an urgency to punch you in the face, and I'm going to use that against it. So I'm in bottom half guard. How many of us know what lockdown is in half guard? How many of us know what lockdown is, all right? So that's what we're going to use here. He's going over the top, right? He's going here, right? This is my goal. I want to get into hugging here, and I want to get my lockdown, right? So I've got to fight this top foot in here, okay? And then I just want to get my lockdown, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hand, and I'm going to answer the phone, and then I'm just going to hug right here. I'm going to sit here. And I'm going to wait for Jeff to get impatient and try to hit me. Right? He's going to start trying to pull out, trying to hit me, and then eventually I'm just going to let him. And then I've got my underhook. And I can attack and start trying to get up. Right? He's probably going to whizzer here. Right? I'm going to torque this foot, go up. Maybe I'll wing arm. Maybe I'll come across. Maybe I'll wrestler sweep. There's a million different options from half guard there. The point is get your underhook. But now we're going to work on a little bit of attacking. And I'm just going to show you a couple of leg lacing series that I like to use that I feel like if I can get somebody there, I can end the fight just like that. So a common way I see myself, I get in half guard, I see a lot of guys, they like to throw this little knee shield in right here. Right? And they like to use that to kind of extend you and be able to work on getting up. Alright, so the way that I like to attack it is I'm going to weave this hand through, and I'm going to pin it on the mat, and I'm just going to torque it. Okay? I'm going to keep my head low. So I'm going to take this bottom leg. By bottom leg, I mean my back leg. So this is the one you guys can see, the one you can't see. And I'm going to scoot it back on his leg.
Oh my God.
Right? The reason I'm doing that is I'm extending it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to come over the top and staple. Okay, this hand's gonna come here, cup the back of his head. When you can ground and pound, always punch in between transitions. So I'm gonna throw two, then I'm gonna step over here. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna keep this hand extended. This top leg, I'm gonna donkey kick through, and I'm gonna come here. Okay, and I'm gonna pinch my legs together. This hand's gonna scoot all the way up. Behind his head, I'm going to cut here. I'm doing damage. Alright, this is where we're going to start off. This position. Okay, if he goes to start getting up, I can attack that wrist pick. Right, if he wants to go to turtle, I'm going to hook this leg in, go to turtle. I'm going to extend it. Yep, go to turtle. Right, go to turtle. I'm going to keep his legs wide.
Bull crap.
Right? Keep them wide like that. It's my favorite, this is one of my favorite ways to attack people. Right? I did it for you. Okay, so he's got here. I'm going to shoot this through. And then I'm gonna scoot this leg over here so I can staple. I'm gonna pass, and then that's gonna allow me to weave this through. When I shoot this leg through, I wanna bring my knee up. You see how his knee's close to his chest? That's my goal here, get that knee close to his chest. And then I'm scooting up and I'm cupping here. Pushing my knees together. Good damage. All right, this is where we're gonna start. Whenever they try to build up, yeah. Keep building up. And then extend that foot. God. Real hard for them to build up right now. I can't do nothing.
Well, because you're a badass. That's why, dude. Well, thanks, man, for coming out and doing the seminar. And tell us, where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. Instagram, Facebook, just look up Julius Walker. I think my Instagram's like your favorite juice box or something like that.
Hell yeah. I like that, Dave.
But yeah, guys.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
For
thanks
sure.
for doing the seminar.
Dude, I appreciate you for having me, brother.
We'll get you out for another one. And if you're watching this, stay tuned to the channel to learn about the next time we're going to do a seminar with people, with Julius and other folks. So thanks for watching.
Appreciate you guys.